We're Group 1. Our project name is Riverside Teacher Incident, a study of racism and cultural insensitivity in education. And I'm Marco Castillo. Joining me is Isela Gonzalez, Taylor Le, and then Ashlyn Tinahero. And we're going to start with the abstract.
Okay. Hello, my name is Isela, and an overview of the incident that we are covering today is that the incident at a high school in Riverside where a teacher mocked Native Americans became a focal point for discussions on racism, cultural insensitivity, and bias in educational settings. This research investigates the event, its implications, and the societal response to the teacher's actions. This study is significant in understanding how racial comments can perpetuate harmful stereotypes and create more than just a simple comment in a person's life. As we can all tell, many people were affected from this, and even the person that did it themselves got bad results from it because they ended up getting fired.
Okay, my name is Ashlyn, and I did question 1 and 4. So for question 1, social justice, as seen through ethnic studies, means working together in fairness, equality, and respect for everyone, especially for groups that have been treated unfairly throughout history. Ethnic studies focuses on understanding systems of power and oppression to uncover how they impact society. Through this perspective, social justice is about taking action to fix inequalities, breaking down systems that cause discrimination, and making sure all communities have the same opportunities to succeed. It is both a goal to achieve and a process that involves working together and reflecting on social issues. Ethnic studies help students understand social justice by looking at the history and cultures of different groups. It examines how systems like colonism, slavery, and racism created power imbalances and unfair treatment. For example, students might learn about redlining and practice that kept certain neighborhoods segregated and denied economic opportunities to people of color. Recognizing these injustices helps us see that they will still affect people today and what we can do to address them. At its heart, ethnic studies see social justice as both resistance and empowerment, and its highlights and how communities have fought for their rights and equality throughout movements in the civil rights movement or labor strikes. By studying these efforts, students learn how to create change requires standing up against oppression and building alliance across different groups. Ethnic studies teaches that everyone can contribute to social justice, whether throughout speaking out, educating others, or helping their community.
Okay, so moving on to the module identification. So the modules that I chose were modules 1, 2, and module 15. So what I chose were some quotes from some of the material that we were given in class that kind of helped aid to our project. So overall, like the main theme of our project was that that ethnic studies is something that we need, and our problem was really the catalyst for that. It just goes to show that people are uneducated and they say things that they shouldn't be saying, and if they had that proper knowledge through ethnic studies, we would be more respectful towards each other. So like from module 1, it says, without practice and study beyond what we absorb in our daily living, we are ill prepared to understanding social group injustices. So it's just basically saying that we're not aware of each other's advantages or disadvantages. And these other quotes from these modules also help to illustrate that as well. So going into the outside resources, the outside resources also resonate with our main thesis that basically ethnic studies is something that we're going to need, and it's something important to understanding each other. So one of the sources, why and how is academic freedom important for ethnic studies? The quote reads, ethnic studies is the academy ethnic studies in the academy was part of an effort to make use of educational apparatuses to train students to be able to understand suppressed and distorted histories, to identify the workings of ideology and impeded justice and equity and self-determination. Absolutely none of these values stands above normative education the university is organized and funded to deliver, especially these days. So what the author is basically saying is that in today's society, we aren't really putting a heavy emphasis on ethnic studies when we really should. And the other sources that I chose as well also help to also agree with this sentiment as well. So this other one actually talks about positionality, reimagining teaching for hope and justice, teaching practices for anti-racist classrooms. And basically the main point of this author is just saying like the teacher needs to understand their positionality and the power dynamic between teachers and students. And I chose this because in our topic, the teacher didn't really notice, or she wasn't acting in such a manner that she was being respectful to the students. So this source just basically says like how teachers should be interacting with their students. And the other sources that I chose as well also help to aid our thesis. So now we're moving on to guideline 4.
So for guideline 4, systematic racism is still a major problem in society today. It refers to unfair policies, practices, and cultural norms within institutions that create and maintain racial inequalities. Unlike personal acts of racism, systematic racism works at a larger level, affecting entire groups of people. It's not always easy to see, but it effects are clear in areas like education, healthcare, jobs, housing, and the justice system. For example, schools in the Black and Latino neighborhoods often have fewer resources, larger class sizes, and fewer advanced classes than schools in wealthier, mostly white areas. In healthcare, Black and Brown communities face higher rates of chronic illnesses and maternal mortality, along with less access to quality care. Similarly, the justice system shows clear inequalities, with Black and Latino individuals being more likely to face arrest, harsher sentences, and police violence. The workplace in another area where systematic racism exists, studies show that the job applicants with ethnic sounding names are less likely to get called for interviews, even if their qualifications aren't the same as others. Many people of color also face pay gaps, fewer opportunities for promotions, and discrimination on the job. Efforts to address systematic racism includes protests, new laws, and community-led programs. Movement like the Black Lives Matters have drawn attention to police violence and racial inequalities, pushing people to demand change. Many companies have schools are now working to improve diversity, equality, and inclusion, while some organizations have reviewing their policies to make them more fair. However, real progress takes time, and fighting systematic racism requires constant effort, awareness, and willingness to address uncomfortable truths about privilege and equality. While systematic racism continues to affect the communities, education and advocacy offer hope for change. By learning these issues and speaking up, more people can take action to create a fairer and more equal society.
Okay. Hi, my name is Taylor. I did guideline 5 and 6. I'm going to be talking about what viewers can do about this issue and can be done to bring change or justice. So some things that the viewers can do to resolve issues that may occur and combat systematic racism and promote justice. Individuals can take multi-phased actions, such as educating yourself on systematic racism and history, form privileges. You can also volunteer with racial justice organizations and participate in activist events. We can also do and recognize and challenge personal biases, amplifying voices instead. You can also support businesses owned by people of color and push for equitable hiring practices. So because every action counts towards the community, which could lead to a benefiting change in our justice system. And based off that, I interviewed some people about how they feel about ethnic studies in high schools K through 12. Some questions that I have asked some people who do go to RCC were why we need ethnic studies in high school K through 12, and how these events can be addressed, and then how our high schools in California addressing systematic racism and justice, and have they dealt with racism and how did they deal with it, and what would they do if they witnessed it. So a girl that I had interviewed, she had responded to saying how ethnic studies classes should be provided due to the fact that people are being properly educated on how others view the world, and how having ethnic studies can help create a bond with students and know and respect others' backgrounds to further gain the knowledge of helping one another. And then by having a class where students are being educated, our backgrounds can create a sole purpose on how we should view and respect others, even knowing what past they have. And then they have dealt with racism, and by addressing it, they took it to further actions of not like having no violence, no nothing, but just talking it out with others. And then they said that they have been a victim of racism, but in order to prevent it, they report it and then support one another. And then my classmate Victoria has also interviewed somebody, so I don't know if she wants to add on to this one for guideline 6.
Yeah, so the person I interviewed is a student from RCC named Jack. And Jack determined that the teacher's behavior deemed offensive and racist led to their dismissal, but it left a lasting impression on students and the broader community. In the interview with Jack, several questions were addressed, and they were about awareness and his initial reaction. Jack first heard about the incident through other students at school. While he didn't initially think much of it, since the teacher was fired quickly, he recognized the seriousness of the issue. He believed the teacher's actions reflected personal prejudice rather than a systematic problem, noting the swift response from the administration. Noting the swift response from the administration. Um, Next, it would be the cultural sensitivity and racism. Jack explained that mocking Native American culture is offensive because it disregards the dignity and experiences of Native American people, perpetuating harmful stereotypes. He emphasized the isolation and insulting impact this behavior has on Native American students and other marginalized communities, reinforcing the idea that their cultures are undervalued in society. Um, Another key factor would be the impact on students and the school environment. Incidents like this, Jack stated, diminish students' trust in their teachers and school systems as they expose the shortcomings in hiring and oversight processes. He pointed out that such behavior sends a harmful message about diversity and inclusion, suggesting that the school environment may not always be safe or respectful space for all students. Accountability and consequences. Jack supported the school's decision to fire the teacher, calling it an inappropriate response. However, he also stressed the importance of proactive measures such as cultural sensitivity trainings for educators to prevent similar incidents. Broader implications. Jack noted that such incidents damage public perceptions of the education system ability to address racism effectively to foster understanding and respect. He suggested schools invite cultural representatives to educate both teachers and students about different cultures and combat common misconceptions. Um, Jack's personal reflection would be that reflecting on how he would feel if this happened in his own community, Jack expressed disappointment, but admitted he wouldn't be surprised, citing how often similar issues arise. He encouraged individuals to challenge such behavior by recording and reporting incidents as the students in Riverside did. Jack's insights highlight the need for systematic change in how schools approach cultural sensitivity, emphasizing education, accountability, and proactive measures to ensure a more inclusive environment for all students.
In the end, social justice with ethics studies is about imagining and working toward a world where everyone has equal access to resources, opportunities, and representation. It pushes students to go beyond just being aware of these issues and inspire them to make action to make society more inclusive and fair. By combining critical thinking and real world action, ethics studies give students the tools to make a meaningful difference. That was my conclusion. Paragraph.